Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'm glad to see so many people here today. It's so nice to see y'all see faces. I would like to, first of all, Candace, Dr. Tate will be here a little bit late, but she is coming. I would like for the dormitory staff to introduce your students who are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today.
I'm Beatrice. My name is Violet. Kenya?
Nice to have you here.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was wonderful. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for coming. I'd like to welcome the leadership team today. Glad to have you here. If you don't mind, I would like for you to introduce yourself to the board, and likewise, I would like for the board to introduce themselves to the leadership team. We'll start.
Hello, my name is Mickey White. This is my sign name. I worked here as a teacher for 31 years, so I feel right at home, except for all of you looking at me. Nice to meet you and see old friends.
And my name is Sandy Turner. My sign is here. And I've worked here for 30 years. Still very much involved with the deaf community, and I'm glad to have you here.
My name is Wallace Saunders. Wallace. I grew up around this campus, running around as a kid. I'm a CODA. Both of my parents were part of the community here in Morganton. My mother taught here for 25 years. And so it's really my honor to serve this board and our students. And our staff and faculty.
Tammy says, Jimmy, sit down, sit down. Hi, I'm Jimmy Autry. I retired from NCSD back 3 years ago, roughly. Time flies. I work with the NCSD Museum as well, voluntarily. And it's nice to see you all again here. I also graduated from NCSD back in 1977. Hi. I can't see you all, but my name is Tammy Weiner. I'm also a 1977 NCSD graduate. That's what, 40 years? Wow. Like Jimmy said, it goes by a blink of an eye. Jimmy and I are in the same graduating class. It is so good to be here. And this is my name sign.
Now, leadership team will introduce themselves. You all can start right here.
Can we see Aaron or anybody else? Tammy's asking. Wallace says we get better each time.
Use your outside voice.
My name is Hannah. And I'm the Director of Business, and my name sign is.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kate. Sorry. Caitlin Bolts. And I am the Director of Student Services.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rachel Skipper, and I am the interpreter coordinator director here at NCSD.
I'm Kayla Arrowood. My name sign is Kayla, and I am Director of Environmental Services. My name is Leslie Say. HR manager.
Hi, my name is Vanessa. I am the assistant to the director. I'm under Mark Patrick.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Pia Wilson. I'm the audiologist and director of admissions. My name is Shirley Ford, and I'm the principal.
My name is Eddie Long. I'm Environmental Services, Health and Safety Director.
Hello, everyone. My name is Drew Pollard, and I am Director of Facilities.
Last but not least. My name is Sharon Shirley Bailey, and I'm the Director of Residential Services, and I'm a CODA as well.
Hey, my name is Aaron. I think I've met most of you guys, except I haven't met Wallace in person. I'm the IT director here at CSD. Sign name.
And I'm not gonna get up and go over there, but I am Tanya McCann, and I've met all of you, and I'm the executive assistant to the school director.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate everybody letting us know who and where you work. And for some of our board members, this is their first opportunity to get to meet some of the staff, so we're very happy to do that. Everybody has an agenda in front of them. You need to take a minute to look over that and see if there's anything you can add. We may end up tabling some of this because we've got a lot to discuss today. But have a motion that we approve the agenda.
Jimmy saying I will.
Okay, all in favor? Raise your hand. I want to interject something right here before we go to the minutes. This is for the board members. We adopted, we talked about having a code of ethics in our very first meeting. And I just want to remind everybody sorry, a little startled by our door. I just want to remind everybody about our code of ethics or something. And for those of you here, this is Dr. Candace Tate, and I knew she'd be a little late. So anyway, I want to talk about this code of ethics for just a minute. There's a part in it that says avoid being placed in a position of conflict of interest and refrain from using the board member's position on the board for personal or partisan gain. And I just want to caution the board that it's very easy for things to be misinterpreted or misconstrued by your board position. It's happened to me and one other board member. So I want everybody to be conscious of that and be conscious of the fact that things are not always as they seem, but if it looks like it to someone, you may be accused. So just a word of caution there for everybody. Did everybody get a copy of the minutes from January? She was at the other door, at 335 waiting at the other building. I'm gonna wait on Candace just a minute to get set up, and then we'll talk about the minutes.
Mark's just catching Candace that we've already done introductions, but we'll have an opportunity for her to introduce herself.
Say it to Tanya. You'll have multiple.
You can use mine.
Like, yes, I do have to sit so the interpreters can see. Great. Okay. Oh, okay, I can see everybody here. All right. Happy to be here finally. I apologize. A little bit of a mix up with where I was going. So it's my first time being in this building. So I apologize. I am Candace Tate. It's my name sign. And I don't know, is that good enough? Do I need to elaborate any more than that, or is that sufficient? He's saying, just where you're from. Wow, well, I can go all the way from where I was born in my whole life story, or I just say right now I'm working full-time as the program director at Broughton Hospital. My background is as a clinical psychologist. I graduated from Gallaudet University in 2002. I've been in private practice, Montana, Colorado, Maryland, New York, Rochester. So just kind of traveled all over. And I have been in Morganton for 5 years now. And yeah, we had just celebrated 5 years here last week. So yay. And I'm happy to be here. So, all right, we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay, back to our minutes. Does anybody have anything to add or subtract from the minutes from January? If not, do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
A motion, Tammy saying I second. Sorry, a motion by Jimmy, Tammy seconding.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. We have one board member who is not here, that is Ray Castillo. He is the alumni representative. He was going to try to join us briefly by Zoom, but I see that he's not here, so I want to introduce him. He lives near Asheville, and he also referees.
Sorry.
He just popped up.
I was waiting in the waiting room for about 20 minutes to try to get in. And Tammy's saying, your name's not on the screen. He said, I'm using my phone.
Okay, Ray's here. So, Ray, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Ray Castillo. Seems like, is that all? He's like, well, I mean, I'm here representing the Alumni Association. Tammy's asking, deaf parents, or, he said, yeah, so representing the community as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. We were voting on minutes. We have to vote on the minutes. So they've been approved. Okay. We have a transition report from Director Mark Patrick. Did everybody get a copy of this from him? Okay. All right, Mark.
So it's wonderful to see everybody, and I hope that you found the information that was in that helpful, and I am here to answer any questions that you may have. I know at the most recent meeting, I left the meeting with more questions than answered, but I know that people continue to work very hard to try to figure things out, but at the same time, each time you ask a question, 10 questions pop up from that one question. So this was just a summary from that meeting. And then myself, as well as Hannah and Melissa, will be traveling to Raleigh on Thursday for an in-person meeting that will be discussing business compliance.
Before I start asking you questions, does anybody on the board have any questions of this? I'd love for somebody else to talk about. I do have one point of clarification, and this is why would the directors need legal representation for meetings with the board?
So my understanding is that the legal representation my understanding is that the legal representation is for the board as well as for the school directors to be able to reach out to the legal representatives, ask for clarifying questions, ask for policy discussions prior to making recommendations to board members and things like that. That's the way that it was kind of described to us, that was what our role is to be able to prepare information to recommend to the board members.
Well, is this procurement of $25,000, is that going to be at the board's discretion for an attorney?
So, sorry, Candace. So as of right now, because of the legal arrangement that is with the Department of Public Instruction as well as the AG's office, there has been an agreement that has been developed, and procurement for 3 legal representatives has already occurred. They had to go through the procurement process for that, and the bidding process for that. And so that happened at the DPI level.
Where did the selection occur? Who chose the 3 attorneys?
I don't know. I think they sent a post out like you would have to do as far as for anything that's over a specific amount of money. It would have to be posted for bid. And then when that bid would come back, then the people that submitted that information, I might need to ask for clarification on that process. And is that right?
Yes, they send out a request for quote, and when you get over a certain amount, you have to have 3. So that's what they did. DPI sent it out. We didn't have anything to do with it. So they sent it out to get the quotes, and then it is my understanding, whoever they got back, DPI decided who they were going to work.
Where's the $25,000?
Well, that is a great question.
That's a great question.
We hope to discuss that more on Thursday when we get to GMS, because they asked for it to come from lapsed salary. But unfortunately, NCSD, we spend our lapsed salary as we are supposed to, and it pays for our temporary solutions workers, it pays for our shift premiums and things like that. So we really don't have the money to give them, and so we're hoping to have a further discussion about that on Thursday.
Well, it has been relayed to the Board of Trustees that we will be the ones to hire the attorney. We asked that question at the training, and we've asked that question of legal outside. And it has been told to us that this needs to be a board attorney. A board attorney. They're going to work for the board.
But I think, so this, what they are discussing is only from now until July 1.
But the Board of Trustees, and this is something you can take back to Dr. Buckley, the Board of Trustees are the ones that need the legal advice, because we're going to be looking at policies. We're the ones that need the legal advice. It's the board that should be able to use $25,000 to hire a lawyer between now and July.
And that conversation has come up, and All I was told was that because of what is in law, because what is in law, where because we are currently under the Department of Public Instruction as a state agency, we can't have outside legal representation as a state agency.
Nobody can see the interpreter.
This is Miss Dr. Tate. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. You better-
Maybe we need a process of when the interpreters are swapping that we can pause.
Yeah.
Mark stating, I didn't realize it.
I can't see the interpreter. Okay.
So, yeah, no problem. So what they have stated is because of that relationship where it's written in law, that we can't have legal representation outside of whether it's DPI or the AG's office, then they have come to an agreement between those two entities that this can occur temporarily until June the 30th. And with this, whatever they've done, but again, we have not been part of that discussion.
Well, and that's something that needs to be clarified to all three boards, because all three boards feel like that we're the ones that need the legal advice and the legal representation between now and July, because it seems, and I don't know if the rest of you agree, I don't y'all voice an opinion here, but it seems to me like that the way this is being done, we're not involved in the policies. We're not involved in development. We're not involved in hiring an attorney. And come July 1, all of this is going to come in here to these 7 people. And we need to know something. We're in February. We're expected to take this on by July 1st. We haven't been able to talk to Dr. Buckwell. We can't talk to DPI. I have yet to see legal representation at any meetings. So it's like, okay, and these are things you can share in that meeting, Mark. I mean, these are concerns, heavy concerns. Tammy.
This is Tammy. Can someone please give us some background information on this meeting? Who was involved? Who called the meeting? I wish I had a list of people who were actually involved in that meeting. Can you go into detail about that? Mark, I'm guessing you were in that meeting, correct? Just give us a little bit of background on it.
Sure. So about once a month now, DPI, which is Lori Morrow and Chip Buckwell, those two from DPI lead a transition meeting with myself and then the school director for GMS and ENCSD. They lead that meeting after they have already had meetings with DPI staff about all of the information that they have shared with them about what's currently happening. We continue to send questions, ask, for details about things, and then they find answers, and then they'll get together with us and then share that information. You're welcome.
Alex, this is Tammy. Thank you.
Well,
Is there any reason why, Mr. Buckwell wouldn't be open to meeting directly with the board, so that we could just maybe have more productive conversations and get the answers more quickly? And he can, it just kind of, I don't understand why that wouldn't be the case.
And I don't mind.
I'm sorry, Wallace, could you say that again? I couldn't quite hear. You said you don't understand why.
I was just saying, I would understand why it would be the case that the boards can't meet directly with Mr. Buckwell, who's that transition manager, for lack of a better word, for the transition from DPI management to board of trustee supervision, for lack of a better word.
And I don't mind asking again. I know the first time that I asked, Lori and Chip both shared that that was really my responsibility to be that conduit of information from our transition meetings to our board as the secretary to the board. That was what was said to me directly.
This meeting that you gave us the notes from was February the 8th.
Last week, Thursday.
Did you have a meeting with him in January?
We did. We had like a very brief, like 10-minute meeting, and there was no content to share from them.
Because at our last, the reason I'm asking is the last meeting we had, you had told us we would get notes the next day or the day after, and nothing came forth. So it's like we're getting it in little dribs and drabs, not concrete. This is the first time I have seen actually anything come out that we can actually lay eyes on. And it's February.
And that is the first time that during the transition meetings, there has been content to share.
Forgive me.
It just like Wallace says, it seems like, not that you don't relay our questions, I know you do, but there's no back and forth. There's no way to, like, they said this, and then, we have questions related to that. And so it would be so much more efficient, and if we could just say, oh, well, related to that, what about this? It's just a very awkward type of communication. No fault of yours.
Right.
So-
And on Thursday, I will inform that again, that has been a request, and I don't mind to share that, and then I will let everybody know,
Well,
Friday morning.
it's not only our concern, it's all three boards' concerns. I mean, all three boards are beginning to feel the same way about how the information is coming to us. And once again, I mean, we're being told, not asked, but being told that these policies are being written. Well, what are they about? We have no input. Yet we're expected to review and decide and put them into practice. And if this is the only way we have to talk to Dr. Buckwell, I mean, I hate to lay it in your lap, but that's the only way we can talk to him.
Sure.
So,
And we brought policies 1,000 through 3,000 today, and to be able to turn over to you guys, for you guys to be able to review and begin to be able to review that process on. And then, I mean, if additional information is needed, then we'll be more than happy to do that. These are the State Board Association policies that all schools are governed under. And so these have all been vetted through the State Board Association's legislative liaison. So these are all matched, already vetted with, through legal to meet all legal requirements for laws that are written. And so one thing that we have recognized with some of the policies in the 4,000 through 9,000 is that it's going to be very interesting, which will be something that legal representation will have to kind of get involved in, because we are a school, we are governed by the State Board of Ed, like everybody is. We're governed through the State Board Association, like everybody is. But because we are a state agency, we also are governed by state agency policies. And when Hannah was reviewing a couple of the policies, there are some conflictions from the State Board Association policy to the Office of State Business Management policies. And so legal representation will have to make a decision on how is that going to work out, because I don't know how that would work out. And then additionally, through human resources, on the Office of State Human Resources, which is OSHR, also has specific policies that we must follow because we are a state agency and we have GS 126 staff members. But these State Board Association policies may come into play for the staff members that are hired after July 1 and that fall under 115C. And so there is going to be some significant evaluations that will have to be done way above us to be able to determine, can these run, can the OSHR / OSBM run, or does there have to be a hybrid to where some of them will have to come together? And that's something that we are just kind of beginning to figure out now.
Well, I wonder if there's a way for this board, and probably the other boards have a similar concern, for us to talk sooner rather than later to legal counsel, whether it's by choosing or not, on what are the priority things that need to be addressed and what's the plan, because it just seems like we don't have a lot of time between now and then, and so if we wait much, it seems like the sooner we can have those conversations. Yeah. The better. Whether it's a committee or whether it's a full board, whatever.
Well, there's also a comment in here about the schools will be responsible for additional cost up to $25,000 for coverage from February to June. And I agree with Wallace. I think that's a period of time that the board of trustees, either as a board or select members, need to be able to talk to an attorney. We need to be able to talk to an attorney because we have legal questions too. And I don't think that since, and this is going to sound awful, but I don't mean for it to, but since we're leaving DPI, and DPI is going to be the ones to hire these attorneys, are they going to be able to talk to us in terms of the new structure for the Board of Trustees? Because it will be a new structure. And can they give us advice on the policies as we go forward that we set for the school? Are we within legal bounds? Are we within the law? And I think the attorney is the only one that can answer that. I don't think that's going to come from DPI staff. I'm sure Dr. Buckwell can answer that. I think it's only the lawyers that can be able to answer that. And I think that's something we should all be concerned about.
And I agree, only the attorneys will be able to approve, the policy recommendations.
Right.
And so the biggest thing that we have to do, like this week, is we just received budgetary information yesterday. So we've basically been running on a what I've been using blind budget because there was such a delay in the budget. And then now, they've just now got us our budget numbers yesterday. And so now Hannah and I kind of talked last night and then throughout this morning about, we don't even know how we can even meet the request for $25,000. So that's what we're gonna just, part of the discussion that we're gonna have on Thursday, because we have no choice but to have legal representation. But we're not sure, we were not anticipating they were going to request funds from our budget for this, just like we weren't expecting funds from our budget to be hit 3 or 4 other different times. And so we're operating on a thin budget anyway, but then when, just from operations alone, but then when you begin looking at they're having the expectation that we're going to utilize lapsed salaries, but we have just a handful of vacancies, but we have subs in those vacancies.
Okay.
So
But
we're not generating the amount of money that is needed, but the other schools haven't. The other schools have the funds because they have large numbers of vacancies and they don't have substitutes in.
right.
So,
But aside from that, I mean, budget. What do you think?
We're gonna have an interpreter switch.
Let me know when you're ready. Okay. Aside in budget, we can't do anything about the board. Can't do anything about that right now because that's one of the discussions we'd like to have going forward. But the fact that we would like to know what we're facing July 1. And I think that if there's $25,000 for legal coverage, I think the board ought to have input in hiring that attorney. We ought to be, because we're going to hire one in July of our choosing. So if you're going to do that, why not go ahead and have that person in place? So, but that's my 2 cents. Anybody want to add anything to that?
Candace had a question. Most recently,
She was talking about the interpreter.
oh,
Okay. Now, we were going to talk today about our report for March, on March 15th. And I think that some of that report's going to come out of the paper that we got as far as what DPI is expecting transition to be. Do you all agree that a lot of that's going to come from Mark's notes?
Yes, it's related.
Yeah, it is related. And one of the things is I invited 3 of the leadership team here to have open discussion. And I want the rest of the leadership team to know that when we meet again here in person in April, we're going to pick several more areas to talk to you all about, because we want to hear from you. We really do. And but one of the things is the Medicaid billing contract. What is that?
it's a good question. Many years ago, 2018, NCSD lost its ability to be able to continue to bill Medicaid. And for many years, and NCSD kind of advocated to try to get that back without success. And so when I came back, I started having discussions all over the place about, because we are losing tremendous amounts of money, opportunities for the school, because we're not being able to bill Medicaid for things that we're doing every day. And so it was actually written into law 2 years ago that DPI had to assist and support the 3 schools to be able to set up that structure again. And that was due by December the 31st. And there were some significant delays along the way, but finally, after about 18 months of trying to get that set up, it has been worked out. And I actually have a meeting next week on Wednesday, the 21st, on that. We are supposed to talk with the company's name is PCG. It's the same company that developed ECATs. And they're widely used throughout the state. Yeah.
Okay, has the school, excuse me, but has the school always been able to bill Medicaid direct? Or have you had to go through, you said DPI has to assist and support. If that goes away, what happens?
They had to assist in the support of getting it set up for the schools to be able to bill Medicaid. So when it is set up, then it will become our responsibility with the contract, the way that it's written, to keep going after that.
Okay, question for Hannah. Does that come through your office?
It will, yes.
Medicaid? Will you be able to handle that with the staff you have?
Well, that depends on what our role will be. May I share something?
Sure.
So, and I appreciate your concern about your lack of information, because I feel the same way. I drafted my first questions for House Bill 11 on April the 19th of 2023, and I still have yet to get answers. And so just like Wallace pointed out, we're at the end of the line. You know, we're supposed to be rolling forward July 1, but yet we are being asked to do things we have no training on, we don't have adequate staff for. We need to be hiring those people now to be able to train them to be ready to roll on July 1. So I appreciate your situation, and I hope that you guys are able to advocate for us, because we're not getting answers either. So please don't feel like it's just.
And that's why we wanted you all here, is because we don't know, so we would like to include this in our report for March. That just what you need. Thank you very much.
And then this is also, Wallace had asked at the last meeting about any kind of budgetary work that we had done. This is what I would call a dream budget or a proposed budget. This is.
I'm sorry, this is Tammy. What's that paper everybody's passing around? What is this report?
It's not really a report. It's more or less budgetary work that we have done to show that, you know, NCSD, if we're moving along without DPI, we'll need additional funding and staffing to support the needs of the school. And just like I mentioned in this, we have had the same budget, I know, for the last 5 years, and I've been told since 2011, when we came out from underneath DHHS. Inflation, I mean, your groceries have gone up, your fuel has gone up, carpentry has gone up, cleaning supplies, but yet we still have not been given any additional funds.
Point of clarification for Tammy and Ray. I will scan this paper and send it to you so that you can have that. I'm going to ask.
Thank you.
If they will send this electronically. I'm not sure my computer skills will do that.
And this is Mark, and the budget sheet that she shared with you, that was connected to our December the 15th report that I submitted to you as a board. That's the exact same document, our proposed budget.
But to answer your question, on the first paper I gave you, there's a current approval flow and items in budget.
So in order to maintain our segregation of duties, we currently do not have enough staff in place, simply because if I'm putting something in, I cannot prove what I'm doing. But I don't have, I mean, there's myself and Melissa, and that's it, so we will need some additional positions.
As you see the work that's coming in, and this is why we wanted to talk to you all. As you see this work that's coming in, and knowing that DPI will not be there, how many positions would you need?
According to the JLOC report, we would need 2 positions. And again, I've highlighted in this,
In
my
addition,
notes.
in addition to what you have.
Yes, ma'am. They told us that essentially each school would need 2 positions to handle the load that was being given from DPI to us. Now, in November, we took on part of those tasks. In December, we took on part of those tasks. And now we're being asked to develop a budget, which again, we still don't have anybody else. So Melissa and I had to take on those additional roles ourselves, in addition to our normal duties, which is good.
Now, when you get, DPI will still be, as I understand it, our parent organization, the money will come through there.
Yes.
Because we are not a state agency to handle money. Now, when DPI gives that to you, is it going to come as a line item budget, or is it going to come to you to do the budget? Will you be able to decide your own line item needs?
That's a great question, and one that we do not have an answer.
But it's important. It's very important, and I can tell you Wallace will know that first. You want me to ask some questions?
Any other questions from Annie?
Okay, we got Tammy and Ray both speaking. So Tammy's asking if maybe we could have the captions turned on. That might be helpful to, if we could have the live captioning also going. Just throwing that out there. Could take advantage of that. And then this is Ray. Ray here. This is Ray. So I've got a question. I had been contacted by a couple of people who saw that there were job positions open at NCSD starting for the fall school year. And they were trying to get some more information about those positions, but they couldn't get any additional information. So it seems like they're already posting those positions, you know, starting for August, but it's not necessarily clear how they can access information about those positions, or, you know, how to move forward with that.
So this is Mark. Ray, we don't have any anticipated positions that are posted. All of our job postings are required. Hold on a minute.
We'll go ahead and do an interpreter switch while we're getting tech situated as well.
Mark, I think it may be to our advantage to have a live interpreter, not have both on the screens, if we're going to do live meetings.
And funny because at the last meeting, they said people there.
Well, I think well, y'all think a live interpreter would be advantageous?
We wait, but that was one thing we were gonna talk about at the end of that.
This is Tammy speaking.
we may have to fly. We may have to fly every other.
Tiffany, so you're virtually? That's perfect. Candace seems to be in person. It's harder to follow Candace. That's why I wanted the captioning turned on. Virtually would be better for the Zoom. And we can look directly at it. I know what the audience is different.
That's what I was talking about. Because we have an audience, we have. So if, unless we have 4 interpreters, and I don't know how we're gonna pay for that, I don't know how we can do that. That would be the only way.
I got one more physical thing we need to take care of. Candace. I'm gonna switch seats. You can't see for the lights.
I want to finish up. When we get everybody's attention, I want to finish up. Ready now? One last thing to kind of finish up that. In the December 15 report that we sent to the board, it had the 4 business office recommendations for hire. On 2 of those were part-time recommendations. We feel that we would have to have full-time staff to be able to satisfy all of the requirements that continue to come our way, and adding Medicaid billing on top of that. And so that was in the December report as well, had it lined out with that budget.
And to be fair, we looked at that and we looked at that budget, but there was also a provision there, a dream budget. And we knew that probably. We want to look at today so that we can get in this report to the legislature the most necessary things that are going to be caused because DPI leaves us. That we may be able to justify.
And most of those items are justifiable.
They are. That is already done.
But it's for you to review and you know, to ask additional questions. But no, when I said dream, it wasn't frivolous or anything. It was, okay, what do you need to run? No longer have that support.
Right, and that's what we want to ask. We got to.
First,
I'm sorry. Say that again. The mic's not picking you up as well in that position. So I apologize. Could you say that again?
Like, I moved to the mic stage and you can't hear me. All right. Ask me the question again, Tim.
yeah, she wanted to know what was the last thing you said, and that was when you summarized about needing exactly what.
That's what we're going to do today. We're going to prioritize the things that each department here at NCSD feels they have to have The DPI leaves us. So,
First, I just wanted to make sure that Ray, you got the answer to the question that you had.
My question, this is Ray. My question was looking for the person was looking for a position that was posted for the fall. And they tried to apply for it, but then they couldn't find the position again. And now they saw a posting for a teacher's position starting in the fall, and they couldn't apply. So they weren't sure. They thought it was a broken link or something. So they asked me, and we had been talking about able to volunteer, but starting July 1st, who will take over that? Will we still use the same job postings that we've had, or will we be starting August 1st? Who makes that final decision for the hiring process? That's my question.
And I can answer that, Ray. We are required, because we are a state agency, to use the nc.gov. That's where all of ours have to be posted. And then, like, currently we have 3 teachers that are on a continuous posting. And then, so I don't know, which specific that you're talking about, but you can contact our HR office and see, but everything that is currently posted is on the nc.gov website.
This is Ray. I was just asking because someone from the community had asked me and said they couldn't find it. So I'll tell them to contact HR.
And it's important to know that none of our current postings start in August. They're all posted right now. So I think maybe they have a little confusion with what they're seeing.
This is Ray. You're possibly right. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
okay, well,
I just had one more question on the Medicaid topic. And I was just wondering if there are examples you could give, like what are the things that we go for, just so we can understand that topic a little better.
Absolutely. So to be able to bill Medicaid, number one, you have to have some kind of licensure or platform. Because we have our 5-star license pre-K, then that allows us to be able to move forward with that ability. Also, it was written in the contract that if that was to go away, because the other 2 schools don't have that, then they would still be able to do that. So there's a provision that's in there. And then also there are other opportunities, like we could do development day funding. Yeah, there's lots of stuff, but currently we've got speech language pathologists that do speech language assessments or evaluations. You've got your school psychologist. You've got OT and PT, both that can do evaluations as well. School audiologists, as they do formal evaluations, those are also options. Those would be the formal billing opportunities that you have. Plus, you've got the random moment time studies that can also be done, because we are serving students who have special ed IEPs.
okay, just for clarification, we have speech language pathologists here on staff, right?
We have 2.
Okay. We have a school psychologist on staff here, correct?
We have 1.
And we have an audiologist.
We have a school audiologist.
And we're billing Medicaid for their services, or is this outside services?
And we are currently billing no services, because we cannot bill Medicaid services currently,
Okay.
because we don't have a contract.
We don't bill Medicaid now,
Correct.
but are you planning to bill Medicaid next year.
Yes, as soon as we have the opportunity to be able to begin that process, then we would like to begin that.
Okay, but, okay. So right now, you're not following them. Right.
We don't, we can't,
I thought we were Medicaid billing right now.
not since 2018, when the NC Tracks went out of service.
Okay, so there's, right now then, you wouldn't need a position to file Medicaid bill in business because we don't do it right
Correct.
now. Okay,
But
that clears that.
but we will be, because we're legislatively required to.
So you have a requirement.
And we're forecasting to be able to ensure we've got the appropriate personnel to be able to meet the needs of those requirements that as they come in.
Okay, back to my original question, these are all clarifications. With these specialists on staff, even though they're here and they're paid by the state of North Carolina, we're billing Medicaid for their services?
So you can bill for specific evaluations
Okay,
to be reimbursed for.
but not just the regular services.
No.
Okay.
No, that's the reason that you use the word evaluation. You don't typically bill for hourly services. Typically, you bill for the evaluations that they're requested at their triennials or things.
Trying to clear all this up so everybody understands. If I got that.
I have not seen the contract because the meeting is next week. I'll be excited to see what the opportunities for NCSD actually are once we can get our hands on something.
Okay. You have a question, Ken? Can you see through your?
This is Candace Tate. Can you see me clearly right here? Okay, we're ready? I'm just curious and excited about what will happen in your meeting next week. I think Medicaid, that's the sign we're using now, is a good resource. Medicaid, same thing. That's a good amount of money that can come in. The legislatures that decided the budget for NCSD won't see that as double billed. The money for the budget for the audiologist and then we're getting paid by Medicaid at the same time. We don't see that as a double billing. And Tammy says double dipping. Dr. Tate, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm curious to see if there are others that we can bill for and that we haven't thought of, and maybe that would be a neat aspect. And each profession will need to get their own record number and everything. It's more workload for everyone as well. I wouldn't mind working with you on that because I have lots of experience on billing and resolving it.
And as soon as I get back from that meeting next week, then I hope to be able to, share with everybody. And then I would love to work with you about, setting that up.
This is Dr. Tate. Yeah, holding PCG. Yeah, that one. Okay.
Okay.
And now this is Tammy.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tammy.
Okay.
I was wondering if there are other schools that are doing that as well? Like the deaf blind school, Eastern North Carolina School for the Deaf, are they currently using Medicaid, or are we the only school doing that?
They are not currently using that because they can't, same as us, but will start at the same time. Will.
Okay, thank you. Interpreter swap?
Ready? Okay. Hannah, is there anything else you want to add that you think we need to improve?
Well, I just wanted to clarify, she asked about double dipping as far as the Medicaid goes. What happens is when you're reimbursed for the Medicaid, then you can use it to in turn pay for those services. So instead of our OTPT contract, which is about $103,000, instead of it coming out of our 6B grant, we could actually use the Medicaid money to pay for those services. So it's not considered double dipping. Most LEAs in the state already do that.
Okay. Is that good? That clear with everybody? Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Is there anything you want to add, Hannah?
No, ma'am, but if you guys have questions, you know, feel free to reach out and I'm happy to clarify anything, because I know that was a lot of information. I'm just kind of
I started to say, don't say if you have questions. We have no idea.
Ask why, and I really hope that you get some good information on
Me
it.
too. Aaron, where did you go? Where did you hide out? Another area that we want to concentrate on in this report is IT. And I know you said last meeting that
Hey, I'm sorry. What were you saying? The last we're wanting to touch on is what?
that might claim. Apparently my voice is scratches.
Large room.
Okay. You hear me better? Good. One of the things that you mentioned last time we were in a meeting in January was some of the IT needs. So give us your top priorities.
This is Aaron. Our top and most immediate priority is our Wi-Fi system. It is almost 6 years old and it's no longer supported. So if something breaks, we have to pull equipment from other working areas on campus to fix the broken areas. We can't even access the system itself. Our licensing has ended because it was a managed service. And the licensing was through the management company, ENA was that company. And then the Wi-Fi company, Extreme Networks, said that it was going to be nearly $10,000 for licensing for us to access the system. So we obviously could not do that. So we have no access to the system. We requested $150,000 in our grant budget to re-up that system.
Is that to do the whole system?
That would be the
Campus-wide?
entire campus.
And to get your license back up.
That would be everything. That 150 would be everything. It may be a little bit more, but we wanted to be sure to cover everything that we need.
Just for clarification for board members who haven't been around the school, how much IT service do the students depend on?
All of it, to my knowledge.
100%.
Everything they do is on their computer, which is managed by the school and, you know, given out to the students and the staff. Each room has a smart board in it that is 100% reliant on Wi-Fi. You know, everything that we're doing here is 100% Wi-Fi only off of that one access point. And it's 6 years old. If it decides that it's time to turn off, we need another.
It's gone. It's gone. And, you know, I'm sure that the teachers would be able to elaborate, because that's part of the responsibility that's getting ready to fall on us, is the software. You know, that's all online, web-based, maybe portable kind of things, so that students can use it between their iPads or their computer, smart board, and all that kind of stuff.
So this follows the student from the school setting to the dorm setting.
Yes, and they take it home. Whenever they are gone for extended periods, Christmas break, things like that, we keep them here. That's when we do our maintenance and updates and that kind of thing on them, but that's every weekend they take it home.
So let me ask you one other question. If we got hit with another stay-at-home situation, we had to educate by Zoom, can you handle that?
I mean, the laptops can handle it. It's just a matter of if the students have the internet capability at their home. Some of them do, some of them don't. I think the last time I was not employed here, the last time when COVID happened and we had to do that. So I'm not sure exactly how they set it up, but the computers are, I'm gonna say, I think they're about 4 years old. So they're, yes, so they're quickly approaching their EOL end of life as well.
Any rest of the questions?
This is Jimmy. I have a question for you, Aaron. Now I am not a tech person. I'm not tech savvy at all. So with that in mind, I am kind of wondering, with the math and science school that's just across the way here, how is their Wi-Fi system? Is it, really strong? If, how can they get good Wi-Fi there and we struggle with getting Wi-Fi here? I don't quite understand that. So it seems like they probably have really good Wi-Fi and that state's been willing to fund that, but we struggled to get Wi-Fi here. And I don't know if, we're collaborating with them. We want to make a partnership with them, but, we're not getting the same access to tech that they have. And as video reliant as we are with, calls and video phones and different things like that. And just, we really need to be able to have that kind of technology here. So we need to keep that in mind as we're thinking about systems that we want to use.
Thank you for your question, Judy. Their system is so good right now just because it's new. Our system is fine for its age. It is just aging, and technology there's not a slow period. It's just when it stops, it stops. And I'm trying to be ahead of that because we are so reliant on the wireless technologies across campus, because it's all one big system across the entire campus. And it's not necessarily that we cannot get it, it's just trying to move forward with the cumbersome process of purchasing and getting that amount of money to do the purchase.
On that point, are you able to have some inventory of, access points and things like that, so that when things go down, you don't have to wait for an order to come in and replace it?
Well, we do, but we do not have a back inventory. We can no longer purchase the access points. They're discontinued. So when they fail, for example, if that one were to fail, I would have to go get another one in this building that's working and move it over here. So I'm robbing the working area to fix the not working area.
For their follow-up question, there aren't new compatible devices that
There are not. The only existing piece that is still good that will stay is the cable.
So that's the $150,000 fix you mentioned.
It's hardware only.
Okay.
It's the access points and the switches.
Got it.
Other questions for Aaron? Did you want to add something more?
Tammy, this is Tammy. I've got something.
Okay,
I have two questions. The first one, how comfortable are we with the security system that we have in place? Do you guys feel pretty good with that? Any kind of monitoring or video surveillance, if anything's going on. Just making sure that, if Wi-Fi is an issue, if that's running off of that. So how would that affect security with the security system we have in place?
and thanks, Tammy. All of our security devices, cameras, our door taps, all of those equipment are hardware. That is all hardwired into switches in our, we call them IDF closets, the IT closet. Each building has a few of those, and that's where all those devices are hardwired in to switches in those rooms, then all wired back to our master closet. So those are hardwired, which that system is working wonderfully. Security system works. We pull video footage regularly.
Okay, good. Second question, and my last question. Are all of the students expected to bring their own laptops, or is the school taking care of that?
The school provides all students with all the devices that they need. Some of them have laptops and iPads, while some have only iPads, some have only MacBooks. It's based off of the need of the student. The school provides all technology that they need. Other questions?
Thank you.
And that's also, don't forget about mentioning about the necessary increase in staff for the department.
Yes. Yeah, I was waiting to.
Okay.
If there's any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that is one, and I'll be honest, the reason I picked these three departments to start with, those are the three departments that Mark gave us that needed additional staff. And, we don't know how easy that's gonna be, but.
Well, first, one of the things is, I am technically the user support analyst for North Carolina School of Ed. I'm not an IT director, according to the state. However, as part of this transition, IT director responsibilities are going to be on me and my team. So that's part of the reclassification needs, that my position needs to be reclassified to that, so that I can then use that user support analyst for a new position to do what I'm currently doing now.
Is that because DPI is linked?
Yes, so all the responsibility that DBI does on behalf of the school will fall on our team of 3 people.
And you need one more position?
Yes, one more position, so that all the new responsibilities interacting with vendors, the vetting process, I'm not sure if y'all have heard of that term. That is the kind of the latest and greatest stuff that DBI is putting us through, and it is incredibly rigorous.
Okay, now if DPI leaves, then those requirements, and you say that DPI vets and putting you through that kind of rigorous training?
No, they're
Requirements.
and these requirements come from DIT.
Okay,
DPI is the one who does them with us because we have been under that umbrella. But
you'll be expected to do them on your own.
yes, because we will still be under DIT, as will the entire state.
Right.
So all that vetting process, working with vendors and, security teams and getting all these very, very technical documents will fall on us.
Okay.
And assembling those packages to send to DIT for approval.
Okay. That makes sense.
It's typically a months-long process per program.
Other questions? Anybody else?
This is Candace. So I work at Broad Hospital, and we're under the Division of Health and Human Services for North Carolina. So we're a state agency. And I have a lot of experience with IT and the systems that govern state agencies and how to maneuver through some of those things. So I'm thinking, I don't have experience with DPI specifically, but I have worked closely with IT before. And so I would have more questions related to that. For example, the
Kronos.
Kronos, thank you, system that North Carolina has started implementing. I know a lot about that. I know that that could be something, I mean, not for right now, but just looking forward, planning, I'd have lots of questions that would be applicable for you guys as well. So just thinking also badge swipes to access, doors and secure areas and those types of things. That's something that we've had to deal a lot with at the hospital. And so different things that I've gone through there, I can see where maybe those applications could come into play here, and just making sure that, you guys have enough support for your team. So it's not like, having two systems, if you have one goes down, you've got a backup, having something like that in place also. Just kind of like you were talking about with the Wi-Fi system, if something goes down, you're stuck, you don't have a backup. So having additional systems in place, that way you've got support if something happens to the primary system, you have other means to do that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, and sort of what my background has been related to state systems and IT and navigating all of that. And so I've had security trainings and different things like that, and how to train staff, email, phishing, and cybersecurity and those types of issues as well. I've had all of that kind of experience with IT. So definitely something that I would, be happy to work with you guys with specifically as you move forward. And also with the Wi-Fi systems, making sure that those are strong.
Aaron, since you're fortunate to have your own work here, does any of your other guys want to say anything? Eric, Jason?
This is Jason. Okay. Yes. Nice to see you. So yeah, this is my name, son Jason. Yep. Just make sure everybody can see me. Okay. Like what Dr. Tate was saying, with the Wi-Fi and our security systems and our connectivity during our Mason-Dixon tournament that we just had, was really challenging for us, but we got through it. Thanks to everybody here. Great job. That was a collaborative effort for sure. Yeah. We very grateful, but we were able to see the demands on the Wi-Fi system and how old and behind our system is. And so that is something, we do want to have something similar to what they have at the math and science school, but because their technology, is much more up to date. And so it was a little bit challenging for us. We could see in the Mason-Dixon tournament just the demands that were put on our systems that we do have. So this is something that we want to work on moving forward, and I feel like we can. So we're just going to have to kind of dig in a little bit and see what possibilities are out there for us. Yeah, but thanks. I didn't mean to take over. Yeah.
I would just like to speak on Aaron's behalf. As a principal of the school, the vetting process is very time consuming, and some of the things that we tried to get vetted took 18 months to get. And that's sad that our students are missing out on those educational things that we could be utilizing utilizing, but we're having to go through this process and we submit documents. They come back and say, oh, it doesn't meet this. And then we send that in and it's something else. And right now, everything we have to redo this every year because of the contract.
Is this DIT?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
And even though some of these companies that we've been approved for, we can do 3-year contracts, this vetting process says you have to do a year. Well, if that changes one slight bit, it's a whole new process anyway. And then what do we have to change here, or what do they have to change to meet the needs so that we can get these programs for our students to have access? Some of the things that we were using to support our most needy of students in our building, we can no longer use because they wouldn't pass vetting. And, you know, it's sad that we're missing out on those opportunities to capitalize on the resources and teachers spending hours and hours having to create and make things from scratch that a program would give us.
Okay.
And so just wanted to speak on Aaron's behalf because the time that does go into this, and we started a document last year, and we actually started the conversation in January to plan for August. Because if we don't start now with the vetting process, we will not have it when our kids come back in August for next year. So it's an ongoing conversation to keep these things in place, and then if something has changed, we may be told no come June, that we can no longer access that. And all these ones we use for SCI data that we use for the IEP documentation as well. So
Thank you. That's good to know. Aaron, you want to add anything else?
It can happen. It can happen with any program. For example, our reading A to Z. I think that one took so long to get done. And now, if the next year reading A to Z doesn't update some piece of that security package, then we can use it. That's reading materials.
Yeah.
And for example, Class Dojo, I'm sure everyone's familiar with that type of program. Public school systems use it. We're not allowed to use it because it does not meet the Tier 2 DIT security requirements. Because of our classification as a state entity of our school, our requirements are different.
And Ray, talk about Ray, Luke.
Huh?
Ray.
Oh, yes. And where Jimmy had talked about the School of Science and Math, RAVE, R-A-V-E, that is an emergency alert notification system that the state purchased to distribute to schools for free to use. But DPI has told us that we are not allowed to use it because it does not meet the Tier 2 DIT standards.
I told you that.
Yes, because everything goes right now, DIT, DPI, us.
Okay.
So it's coming from DIT is telling us no, but we hear it from DPI because that's who we currently report to.
So that we need to know.
But that's just an
process
example.
is coming
That
from.
campus that touches us is using programs that they tell us that we're not allowed to use because of the classification of our campus and the type of students.
Good question. Okay, Wallace, you have.
We're going to have an interpreter switch.
Ready? Okay, in one of the reports, maybe it was your input, Mark, for our December report. I think I remember a comment that our access to basic software like Microsoft Office was going to be both a budgetary issue and disruptive if it isn't continued. Do we need to, is that factored? How do we factor that into our March report? Or what needs to happen there?
I'm very glad that you asked. Go ahead. Microsoft is required by North Carolina to authenticate with the NCID system to log into FIU, which is our timekeeping benefits. That's where Leslie, our HR manager, that's where she lives. Microsoft Authenticator is required for employees to access that system. Well, our school has always used Google accounts for our students because up until this point, that has been provided for free via Google. But now, as a part of this transition, we can no longer use the free Google accounts. We have to use the Tier 2 Google accounts, which can cost almost the same amount of money as our Microsoft accounts, which is almost $20,000. So you're looking at $40,000 worth of email access.
Okay.
Which we obviously cannot do.
So you would, okay, are they asking you to leave the Google accounts? to change to Microsoft?
No, we currently have both, because Microsoft is currently and will always be required to log in to the NCIE timekeeping, management system. That's how we put in our time, that's how we get paid, excess benefits, those kind of things. That's required by the state. Yeah, very important.
Two-factor authentication.
So we have to have those Microsoft accounts to do that. But our teachers utilize Google Classroom, and our students use these Google accounts that we create and manage. It's a very easily managed system, and it's not as feature rich, I would say, as Microsoft. It's different, but it's very appropriate for the students to use their account. But moving forward, there's no way that we'll be able to pay $40,000 for email accounts. So then that's going to require, okay, teachers, I know your job is already hard, but now we can't use Google accounts. So now the students, we're going to have to pay more for more Microsoft accounts to make accounts for our students.
You know how much that's going to be?
It would be,
That 20,000 ballpark, $20,000.
and this is Mark on, we have to pay, that dollar amount, not only for staff, but also for if we have to transition the students as well. So we encumbered in June the $17,950, something like that, for this school year for them to generate a new domain. And so we haven't even had that open up yet, but in May, we're going to be impacted at that exact same amount for next school year, because you have to pay a year ahead for your domain. And so potentially, if we try to figure out how we're going to be able to figure out continue to use Google, then we this year have been hit with almost $40,000 worth of encumberment of funds just for emails that NCSD has not paid in its history with DPI because of the money.
Okay,
And so that's a significant, impact to our bottom line budget that we've not incurred.
have you already paid that for
The
this year?
first 17,950 or 550, whatever it is, has been encumbered. So the money's gone. Hannah can still see it, but it's gone. And then now they'll hit us again, and we don't even know how that's even going to be feasible. As we get closer and closer, because so many of these transitional costs have just kind of popped up and have been kind of last minute pop-ups as well. And no matter how many times you're warned, you're going to have transition costs. Nobody thinks you're going to get hit with almost $40,000 worth of just email charges.
It seems to me there's no real practical reason why you should have to change the way you're using Google versus Microsoft, but the reason it's happening is because what exactly again is?
DIT security requirements.
But DPI has its own.
No, DPI doesn't have its own. They are just telling us what DIT says. I mean, I communicate directly with the contact of DIT. DIT puts down the restrictions. So everything under DPI has to follow these restrictions. We just happen to be under DPI.
Okay.
But even after this, the restrictions are not DPI exclusive. I'm sorry, that sounded confusing. The restrictions are DIT. So
correct.
In the past, they have not been enforced by DIT on the entire state like they should have. But moving forward, they are now going to start making the rest of the school systems meet these requirements.
Okay.
Which
So
I guess it makes me
this
feel
year.
a little better because everybody else will have to do the same.
So
insane stuff.
we're no longer going to be special with that.
No, we're no longer going to be
Correct.
special. But up until this point, the email that I got this morning, when I asked about this to DIT in my contact, was that NCSD purchased these Google accounts. In 2016 is how long we've had these accounts. And the proper steps were not enforced on DIT's end, but now that is all being remedied. It's all on
Okay. And this is Mark. And because we have to go from tier 1 security to a tier 2 security, then we're going from a free Google to a paid.
And is we, all schools under DPI also, or is this a change that will apply to NCSD going from tier 1 to tier 2 because of this transition? Or would that, we be having to deal with that either way?
So we would have to be dealing with that either way. And that same restriction is going to hit all public schools as well.
Okay.
But we have been not paying anything. And now potentially, not only are we gonna have to pay for our own Microsoft, but if we want to keep servicing children in the way that we're servicing, we may actually have to pay double.
Okay. It'd be easier for us to be able to justify something if it's related to the transition.
Okay.
Okay, so the DIT restrictions are gonna be statewide with all schools. So that's on top of the transition cost.
For Microsoft, yes.
All right. Anybody else have anything to ask Aaron? Clear as mud.
I have so many questions, but we will do that.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it. It's very important for us to know the top needs of the school as we go forward, because we've got to be able to function next year too.
Yes, ma'am. And my fear is that we're gonna hit July 1, this software is just gonna.
Well, I think we can put in reports to the legislature. And the reports we're talking about are reports that are required in this transition process by the Board of Trustees to respond to the things that DPI is either offering us or offering the schools. But we get to make a response to that and say, okay, this did come through, we are getting that, or we're not. And that's why we want to talk to you all.
Yeah, wonderful. This is Aaron. There has been no training on our end either as far as these DIT requirements, because we currently have a middle person between us and DPI that works and does these requirements. So that is her entire job, is this vetting process. And that entire person's job worth of responsibility is now going to fall on me and my team, which is why we need that additional person. Okay. And some training, because the requirements, even if how crazy they are, I have no problems doing what they need me to do if they can just.
Who gives you the training?
We've never had training.
Who?
I have no
DIT.
idea. I would hope
When it comes to
DIT.
DIT.
Yeah, I would hope it would be
Oh,
DIT.
the IT.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, thank you so much.
And Sandy, all of the people in here helped generate the report that we submitted to you all in December. So they are experienced and familiar with the JLOC report.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
But for this board to read a report cold and not understand the nuts and bolts of it, it's just like getting the information from Dr. Buckwell through you. We have no feedback. This gives us feedback. This gives us an opportunity. And with that, we're going to talk about HR. And you've got the most fun job of all, because you're leaving DPI and coming with us.
That's true.
Would you introduce yourself again, since Candace was in the yard?
Oh, no.
Okay, what do you foresee is gonna happen to your department by moving back under the school?
So this is Leslie. Our department is going to take on a lot of approval duties that.
Tammy
DPI
says to hold.
This is Tammy. Could I see Leslie, please? Is she sitting in Aaron's seat or? Thank you so much.
All right, so I'm gonna try to speak loud enough, so don't think about like that. So, our department is gonna have to take on a lot of the approval rights that DPI currently has. And just as Hannah said, we have to have a separation of duties, because I cannot enter and approve things. So currently Susie and I separate those. She does some, I do others, so that it's not an influx on her.
Question.
Yes.
Approvals for staffing.
Staffing, paid time entries, leave of absences, if someone has to go out for FMLA or workers' comp, anything along those lines. So anything that we enter into the Fiori HRIS system, which is the Human Resources Information System.
Okay, for clarification, does anybody need that Fiori explained? Does anybody know what that is?
This is Candace. Is this the staff? Do they enter it themselves or do you enter it? How is that handled?
The only thing staff enters is their pay and personal communications, or excuse me, their time and their personal communications. So, Ms. Tate, I know you're at Broughton, so it works the same here as it does at Broughton.
Okay, cool.
So currently, like if we employ a new employee, we enter all their system into Fiori. It goes to me if Susie enters it and I approve, and then it goes to DPI, and there's like 5 people at DPI that approves, including budgets and finance. So there are a lot of moving parts with the Fiori system and a lot of hands that have to be on that.
Let me ask you a question. I hate to keep interrupting.
No, no.
This is a question for Mark. If this is going to, from Fiori into DPI for approval, that would then come to the board for approval, because DPI won't be there.
No, it would, in my opinion, it would stay within the HR department.
Well, that, what I'm saying is, will she be able to skip that step
No, because the steps are required
by DPI?
by OSHR.
Okay.
Sorry, that one is Office of State Controller.
Yeah, yeah,
That is
OSC.
OSC.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily go to DPI for final, it goes to OSC.
It depends.
Yeah, it depends.
There's more.
It's getting more and more complicated.
Certain things go through DPI only. Certain things go through DPI and OSC,
Okay.
depending on what we are doing. If we are making changes to any positions, like if we reclassify a position, that has to go through OSC as well. And so I would think the way that it would work now is if Susie enters, when we transition, if Susie enters a new employee, it'll come to me as it does now, but then it'll also have to go to Hannah for budgetary, and then potentially Mark for that final, okay, this is completed. So with that being said, we will need at least one more employee, because not only are we taking on that role, but also currently the learning management system and the NC Valuing Individual Performance, which is our evaluation systems, is handled by DPI. That will come to us. The good news on that is I already have the training for that, so they just need to give me my access back, because I had it before I came here. But that is a lot of work to keep up with as well. So.
Okay, and that is because of the transition.
Yes.
And that's because you're also transitioning.
Yes.
Okay. How much support will you lose by leaving DPI?
Oh goodness, we're gonna lose support for LMS and CFP. We will lose support for Fiore because they also can ask for access to certain things that I do not have that authority to do, so that has to go through DPI. They will also support people admin, which is our job postings and
Descriptions.
thank you, for our descriptions. They designate all of that as well. And then finally, they are there to assist us with reviewing interview packets, new hire packets, leave of absence packets. They review everything that we do. So that would be,
So that is more justification for your additional staff.
yes, yes, ma'am.
You all have any questions, Leslie?
I think the main thing for me is, as we think about trying to incorporate all of this into our updated report in March, is just to make sure we have a good handle on not just the number of FTEs in each department, but, you know, which role is needed and what the budgetary effect of that is.
One other thing that is a major concern to me right now is we are going to need a lot of training. I have most of the trainings completed. However, I have never had the final approval authority with Fiore. That is usually handled at higher levels. So I'll have to go training for that. Hannah and possibly Melissa will have to have access because payroll, and then they are going to be in part of the approval process for everything we do. So they will have to go train. Mark will have to go train. And the Office of State Controller is the one that handles those trainings, and sometimes they can be 6 months behind, and we're already in February. And they will not give access if you have not had those trainings.
So you're talking about training that's going to be necessary for just you and your immediate department.
Me and the business department as well, and Mark.
Many of us.
Are you going to the meeting next week?
I am not, I don't think I was supposed to be involved.
This Thursday,
Well, this Thursday.
Hannah and Melissa are going.
So, does she need to go?
No, they cannot invite human resources.
It seems to me like that would, because human resources is coming in as a brand new entity under the school.
This specific meeting is specific to budget department.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, question one.
I was just gonna maybe more of a proposal. Does it make sense for each of the schools to just organize these trainings that are needed? Like, hey, Dr. Buckwell, can you help us organize the training that's needed in the HR department, the finance department?
I would say that is
July 1st. Sorry.
I would say that's a wonderful idea, but that is above them because it's with OSC.
That's that's something that we could ask and request in our March report, because I mean, this is definitely a transition.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's transitioning in, and that puts it even more important to me, because come July 1, she's facing the same thing. Here's a whole new ballgame.
And while it's important to know that they have to have the training, without the training, they can't have the access. So they can't even begin to practice without the training because they don't have the access. So it's really both. You have to have training and access both.
Here's a bug at state level. If they aren't able to pay the employees, they're gonna have a problem.
True.
Okay.
Stop.
And in the December 15 report, also there's a big paragraph that Leslie wrote that really is expansive about the need for that third person. So you can hopefully pull language from that.
Just a second. We've done an interpreter switch, but I was scheduled until 6 and I'm gonna have to go. So you have the lovely Candace for the rest of the time. I'm so sorry, but it's wonderful seeing all of you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiffany. And we will close this up pretty soon. Board members are scheduled. But Leslie, give us anything else that you can think of that we need to reiterate and really put some emphasis on.
Honestly, my biggest concern is the training, and we're, just as Hannah's department is, like, we're gonna have to try and get an additional individual, because if we don't, that's gonna put all of this process on students, I will not be able to cover. I can't agree with that. So that's a lot, and I will take on the additional LMS and CVIP role, which can be a lot as well, especially during our reviews every year.
Okay, so the position you need needs to be a full-time position.
Yes.
I'm gonna ask all three of you something, that you can give me a rough estimate of cost for the positions you need.
If you look on the dream budget, it's on the bottom.
Okay. Great.
And also, it's really important to remember when you're asking for salaries, you have to include that percentage for benefits as well. Don't forget that. We just learned that and it hit us hard.
Don't you want benefits too?
Yeah.
Okay, that dollar amounts are there? Yes. Okay, good. Does anybody else have any questions for HR?
And also, don't forget that for her, we need to consider reclassifying her as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what would that reclassification be?
Under House Bill 11, it says HR director.
It does.
It says business director and HR director. And then
Does
of
that
course,
include reclassification for him?
that would require, yes, ma'am. And then also we would need to consider and remember Aaron's position to be an IT director as well, because right now, the responsibilities that all three of the staff are going to take on are those director roles, and we want their job description to match their role.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just probably an ignorant question, but is it the case that you don't have either the budget or the ability to post those jobs now and hire those jobs now so that we can have them in place by July 1st?
So interestingly that you asked that, because just today, I had a long conversation with Dr. Marta and said, right now, the issue is two things. We don't have the position. We don't have the money in reserve. If we use a current position, this was my conversation with Dr. Marta, on if we take 3 current vacancies and change them to those 3 roles, which we can do. We have identified 3 that we can do. We don't have the money in reserve to change it. So we're stopped here and we're stopped here.
Can you reclassify these 3 positions, Aaron, Hannah, Leslie, with what you have now?
With what we have in positions, yes. With what we have in money, no. Because we don't have enough in saving in reserve to move them up. And then that, and Leslie, you'll have to talk about that. The reclass process is about a 3-week process for each one. And we kind of had a conversation about This was my conversation with Dr. Morrow today. Why start the process when we know it's just going to be denied? So if we can start some collaboration with the HR department, with Dr. Morrow's help, then we could start that process. And then we would have, she would be ready with the appropriate title and job description. Aaron would be ready, and then Hannah would be ready.
Now, if
But we
Leslie-
still need people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if Leslie got the title of HR director, then would she get the access?
She can get the access with the training.
Okay, so it's the training.
Correct.
Does it come from the EIT too?
No, it comes from the Office of State Controller.
I think I asked that. I have that. Okay. Anything else anybody else needs to know there? Okay, thank you. Is there anything you want to add?
We'll just write it out, see how it goes.
Well, folks, it's 6:10. I'm gonna table your secretary role and the clerk role for our March meeting, if that'd be okay with the Zoom. And I do.
Anything can just move.
Yeah, I do want to ask the board, Tammy, can you all be available for emergency call meetings the rest of this month? And if you can, send me some dates and times. And we're going to call emergency meetings between now and the end of February by Zoom to get this report written up and into some format so that we can prove it by March. Okay, does that sound good?
Is it the 15th?
Yeah. So we're gonna try to
have to.
try to do it by 4. Okay, does anybody else on board have anything they want to add? I want to thank all of you all.
Tammy said, yeah, I'm available. I can do something. So yeah.
Okay. I want to thank all of you for staying with us, and I want to tell the rest of the leadership team, you've seen what we've done today. We have a legislative report due in March, which will respond to what we've gotten from DPI at this point. But from what I understand, in June, we will have a final report to give to the legislature and talk about what has been done to that. But DPI does not have to give us a report in June. We are the only ones to write the report at the end. So between now and then, we're going to talk to each one of you the same. What do you need? What will make your life easier? How can we progress? And how can we do the best we can for our students? And that's our goal. So I hope by coming in today, you have a chance to see how we feel about you all and how important we know you are to the job. So thank you very much for being here. Does anybody else have anything to say?
This is Tammy.
Yes, Tammy.
I was wondering, are we going to depend on the minute meetings as to how we're going to do the report, or will each unit that we heard from today give us like a listing or summarize of what their needs are? Or does Mark already have a summarized report listing of what's needed so that we can look at that and gather more information?
Part of this, Tammy, was in Mark's report in December, and I'm sure Tanya's going to have it all in minutes, and we'll ask Tanya to try to have those minutes turned around to us very quickly so that we can work on this report. But we will start putting this together in a file in Google Drive so that everybody will have access to it, can look at it and start making the changes and recommendations. And then we'll have this report ready to go by the end, hopefully by the end of the month. Because I can't imagine you all can help me that DPI will give us a whole lot more than what Mark has given us from Dr. Buckley, because he's the one that's in control of the transition. So, do you have anything that you can enlighten us on?
I know that Dr. Morrow has already started working on the report.
Okay, good.
I don't know when that will be finished. I know that they're waiting for this meeting on Thursday.
She was very good last time. She was in early, so that was good.
Right. And then she has already said that they're requiring us to write a report again for a response to that, to then be able to provide all of you with that information as well. So you will get a report from us. It's not me, it's us as a team. So that will be there as well. Now that will depend on when we get it. You know, when we get hers, then we typically can turn it around within, 3 days, 4 days. And then I am already working on like that exact report for things that I know.
Okay.
Things I know now, we're already working. So.
Well, I know that it seems to be that the legislature is looking at these reports, not getting any feedback, and wonder if anybody read it. Apparently they are. They're looking at it. And you said something in the report that you gave us about DPI is not, how did you word that? Not giving us positions. Is that what you said?
And that was a quote.
I noticed that.
Yeah, we are not going to provide anything that is not accurate and true. And that was a quote, and I thought that was critical, because if the department is not going to provide funds or positions, and we already heard that, we're doubting that legislators are going to give positions or funds, then we've already decided we don't have a choice but to move forward with holding current vacant positions to be able to add these necessary things. But we also have to remember that some of those are student-facing positions.
Well, I think that with the legislature coming back in short session, if we can justify some of the things in our report, we've heard today, that there may be some reconsiderations. So, never hurts to try.
And Leslie said it well in that the more that we wait,
right?
It's very time consuming to reclassify positions. Candace is going, yeah. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we can begin to hire, because even that process, the hiring process, is very time consuming as well.
Well, hopefully the hiring process will get better after July. So, does anybody else have anything they want to say before we leave? I want the board members to stay just a few minutes. Afterwards, Mickey wants to talk to Candace and Jimmy, and I'm going to talk to Wallace about another matter that has nothing to do with this. Thank you all again for being here. Thank you for being open and talking to us. It's the only way we're going to learn. We're in a learning process. So, do I have a motion to adjourn? You making a motion? You have a second? All in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Candace. Thank you for her. Thank you.